inside is a preposition that means, in this case, the same thing as into. Inside can be a preposition.
Let's say the city that we just left is interesting.
Is what?
The city that we just left.
Okay, Now, Chop, this is important. That's a correct sentence. That's a correct sentence. It tells us that the city where we were, that we just left, is an interesting city. We saw a lot of interesting things there. So, that's a correct sentence. But it's not a prepositional phrase because there's no preposition. What we have is the main part of this sentence. The main part of the sentence is the city is interesting. That's the main part of the sentence. That's the main thought. Now, that we just left is a dependent clause, like we talked about several days ago, because it has a subject and it has a verb. So we've used a dependent clause to say the same thing, to give the same meaning as we could have with a prepositional phrase. Both are correct. Both are correct. And that's why English it's like Thai. It's a language that the more you learn, the more you realize you need to learn, because there's so many different ways of saying the same thing. Remember when I asked 2 days ago, and Maha Suraphet was here, how do I say see you later? And you all had about a dozen different ways of saying it. And you finally reduced it to the simplest form possible for me. But that's true of the Thai language. It's also true of English. Many different ways of saying the same thing. Let me do another example. Let's make that a simple sentence, okay? The main sentence, the main thought is the sun is hot. But we're going to add meaning to the sentence with a prepositional phrase. What could we put here? The sun, Ma?
The sunlight in the afternoon is hot.
The sun in the afternoon is hot. Correct. See, we've added meaning to the sentence with the prepositional phrase in. And notice here we would not say the sun into the afternoon. We would say the sun in the afternoon. Into would mean that we're going inside someplace.
Into the room is hot.
The sun,
In the room.
the sun in the room.
Into the room.
Oh, the sun into the room. Well, inside the room. Like that? Inside the room? That would work, yeah. If the sunlight was streaming in through the window, we could say the sun inside the room is hot. We probably would need to add a little bit more to that sentence for it to make sense, because when we say the sun inside the room is hot, what that says actually is that there is a sun inside our room. And you know, that's not possible. So we could say sunlight is a compound word. What we could say, to be more correct, would be the sunlight streaming into the room is hot. So the sunlight, which is outside, streaming, flowing into the room is hot. So this tells us that the sunlight is coming from the outside into the inside of the room. So we've taken the sunlight is hot, we've added more meaning to that sentence with the prepositional phrase.
Teacher, in this sentence, the sunlight streaming is the subject, and into the room is the prepositional phrase and is verb. What is the subject?
Well, the subject is sunlight. That's what we're talking about.
Streaming.
Now, streaming is the verb. Now, what we have here in this sentence is that this is the subject. This is the verb. This is an adverb phrase. It's an adverb because it's telling us the sunlight. This goes back and it tells us the sunlight is hot, right? So this is a modifier, modifying sunlight. And then into the room is a prepositional phrase that modifies streaming because it's telling us where it's coming into.
Is a verb and hot is a
Yes, this is a phrase.
phrase.
It's a phrase. A phrase is a group of words that does not have both a subject and a verb. So it has a verb, is, but it has no subject. So it's a phrase. We would call this,
What is hot?
it would be called an adjective phrase.
Adjective phrase.
Yeah, it's an adjective because it's modifying a noun, sunlight, but it's not just one word, it's two words, it's more than one word, so it's a phrase. It's an adjective phrase that modifies sunlight. This is a prepositional phrase that modifies streaming. Now, I want to try to explain something. Actually, you don't need to know grammar to learn to read and write and speak English. You really don't. The reason I'm teaching you grammar is because you already know how to speak your own language, and you understand the grammar of your own language. So it's by making some comparisons here that perhaps it's easier for you to understand how the English sentences are constructed and how the different parts of a sentence will work with one another. But I'm sometimes cautious about teaching too much grammar and not enough reading and speaking. So, but there's some grammar you need to know in order to, make progress in learning to speak English. So, but we could spend the whole year talking about nothing but grammar. But that's not what you want to learn. What you want to be able, what you're trying to work on is fluency. You all have a pretty good vocabulary. You really do. I mean, I've been with you for a couple of weeks now, and you have a good vocabulary, and you understand me when I speak. And when we read passages, you get most of the meaning. What we want to work on, what I